It is homecoming weekend at Stanford, and these days Cardinal alums have nothing to whine about when it comes to their football team. Stanford has found a great rhythm. The Cardinal carry the nation's longest winning streak into today's game. They've won 14 straight, led by Heisman Trophy candidate Andrew Luck. Tonight, they face their toughest test of the season against the Washington team that is clearly fired up based on the Huskies' rocking team bus. Steve Sarkisian has led UW back into the national rankings for the first time in 2 years, led by his always smiling quarterback Keith Price, who's emerged as a Heisman Trophy contender himself. It's a huge game in the Pac-12 with national implications. It's Washington and Stanford. Presented by Southwest Airlines. Tonight from sold-out Stanford Stadium, two top 25 teams go head-to-head. It's 25th ranked Washington taking on Stanford, which is number 8 in the first BCS standings, which were released on Sunday. These are two of the three undefeated teams in the Pac-12's North Division. Stanford 4-0 along with Oregon, while Washington is 3-0. Both the Cardinals and Huskies have a game remaining this season with the Ducks. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Matt Millen. Delighted to have you with us. We'll be joined shortly by Heather Cox. When Andrew Luck surprised many and decided to come back for another season of college football, this is what he had in mind: the chance first and foremost to play for a Pac-12 championship. Matt, his team is well positioned to do so, but tonight they'll face their toughest test of the year, the first-ranked team they will see. But Andrew Luck has picked up right where he left off last season and then some.
You know, I don't know if we really fully appreciate what Andrew Luck brings to the table. I mean, certainly you watch him on tape or you watch him as a fan, and you can see he's got the big arm, he has a nice touch, he runs around, he does all those things. But there's so much more to him than that. Forget what kind of person he is. Look at him as a player in the intangibles. And it starts with poise. Poise is the one thing that's the hardest thing to measure, and it's the one thing that stands out with him. He has it all the time. He has it in the pocket, he has it out of the pocket. And then decision making. He never puts this offense in a bad position. At the line of scrimmage, he's in complete control. And that's because, Sean, he's got great character on and off the field. And under pressure, that's when character really shows. And that's when he's at his best.
He has certainly lived up to the high expectations set for him coming into the year. Meanwhile, at Washington, they had a great quarterback last year who left to go to the NFL. Jake Locker, a #1 pick. So the big question starting this year was, how good would Keith Price be? He's been tremendous, far exceeding the expectations.
Yeah, and we had a chance to watch them about a month ago against Nebraska, and at that time we said he runs this offense better than Jake Locker did. And I got to tell you, here we are a month later, and he's gotten even better. He is now in control of this offense. He knows what his team can do. He knows what he can do. This is the best young quarterback in the NCAA. He uses his feet, but always has his eyes down the field. And he has a smile on his face constantly.
He has emerged as a Heisman Trophy candidate. You might wonder, is he worthy of it? Well, look at the numbers. They are quite comparable to the Heisman frontrunner, Andrew Luck. Huskies and Cardinal in a moment.
The Nissan pregame shift is next after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
And welcome everybody to the Nissan pregame shift as it continues from Stanford Stadium, where the Cardinal about to take the field. Trying to extend their school record winning streak to 15 in a row. They've been annihilating their opponents the last 9 victories, all by 25 points or more. This has been the Nissan pregame shift. Kickoff is coming up from Stanford after this look into Nissan's Heisman House. Welcome back. It's the 82nd meeting all time between these two schools in a rivalry that dates back to 1893. Stanford hammered Washington and Seattle last year 41-0 as the Huskies had just 107 yards of offense, the 3rd straight win in this series for the Cardinal. Steve Sarkisian said that was rock bottom as far as he was concerned. The program turned it around almost immediately. Stanford won the toss and received the kick from Eric Folk. Here's Ty Montgomery weaving his way out across the 20-yard line to the 24. Driven back by Thomas Tatoga. Here's Heather Cox.
Sean, Washington is definitely using last year's shutout for extra motivation. In fact, that 41-0 drubbing was so bad that head coach Steve Sarkisian told us this week that it was by far the worst offensive performance he's ever been associating with, adding that was definitely rock bottom. It really was a time to reassess who we were, what we were about, and what we've done. And that game was definitely a turning point, Sean. Indeed, Washington has a 9-2 record since that dismal day, leading both coaches to say they believe that today's matchup will be a much different story.
Here's Andrew Luck under center for the first time tonight. And some trickery right away. A good flip to Chris Owusu, their speedy wide receiver, with blockers out in front. Inside the 40. And finally knocked out of bounds at the 31-yard line by Princeton Fuimaono. We welcome those of you expecting to see Texas Tech and Oklahoma. They're in a weather delay. We welcome you to beautiful Stanford, California, where there's no chance of a weather issue tonight. Temperature near 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. 45 yards on the first play from scrimmage for Stanford. Cardinals 6-0. They have started slowly on occasion this year. That's been a point of emphasis to get off to a better start tonight. Stephon Taylor, their leading rusher, ahead for a yard, and that's all. Let's take a look at tonight's impact players. Taylor averaging 93 yards per game. That's 4th in the Pac-12. And Kobe Fleener, one of 3 tight ends, will play on the field together a lot. He runs like a wide receiver, even at 254 pounds, and you already saw what Owusu can do. He's their speed receiver. Took a shot up high last week at Washington State and was woozy. Left the game in the first quarter, but did practice this week. And they think Owusu's 100%. 2nd and 9, Stanford. At the Washington 30. Taylor again. First down and powering his way down inside the 15 to the 13-yard line. Justin Glenn a safety. Desmond Trufant a cornerback had to make the stop.
And you know, Sean, everybody talks about Stanford, and then of course it's Andrew Luck, but this is a running team first, and they're committed to the run, and they're committed to their big offensive line. The previous play, what you saw, they came in with 7 offensive linemen. They force you defensively to have to adjust to the running game first, and then here comes the throws.
They're perfect in the red zone this season. Every time they've been in the red zone, they put points on the board. 31 for 31. They didn't do it by having that kind of thing happen.
On the offense, number 11. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Jay Strickers is our referee. Levine Toilolo, one of the 3 tight ends used regularly by David Shaw, guilty of the false start. Shaw took over for Jim Harbaugh, who did a masterful job here in 4 years with Shaw as his offensive coordinator when Harbaugh went up the road to the San Francisco 49ers. Shaw took over and hasn't suffered a defeat yet as a head coach. 1st and 15. Luck. Quick throw to Ty Montgomery, talented true freshman, and a good tackle in space by Sean Parker, starting safety for Washington. Washington defense that has struggled this year against the pass in particular. Up front, they have one of the best interior defenders in the country in Alameda Ta'amu. Court Dennison is the leader of the defense, leading tackler, that middle linebacker. Guy who gets them lined up And that'll be a challenge tonight against the variety of formations they'll see from Andrew Luck and the Cardinal. Luck in the pistol. Stephon Taylor behind him. Zach Ertz, one of those three tight ends, went in motion. All three tight ends on the field right now. Throw back to Taylor inside the 10. Out of bounds. It appeared he got the first down. He will have it at the 2-yard line. It'll be first and goal for the Cardinal. John Timu made the tackle.
And a nice job there by Stephen Taylor, because right at the end, Ducre, number 18, has a chance to make the tackle for short of the first down. But right there, that little bit, that got him the first down. Well done.
Entering today's action, only 2 other teams in the country were perfect in reaching the red zone this season. Western Michigan and Ball State. Jeremy Stewart, number 34, is their goal line specialist, and he powers into the end zone. Touchdown, Stanford. An impressive and very easy opening drive.
Steve Sarkisian, the head coach of Washington, knew the game was really going to be on his defense's shoulders. And that is not a good sign for Washington.
Washington just 73rd in the nation in total defense and 116th out of 120 against the pass. The extra point up and good by Jordan Williamson. Stanford has now scored first for the 19th time in their last 20 games. Andrew Luck and Stanford, 76 yards on 6 plays with the opening possession of the football game. They've now outscored their opponents 57-0 in the first quarter this year after Jeremy Stewart's 2-yard touchdown run. They're the only team in the country that has not allowed the point in the first quarter. Jordan Williamson kicks off. Kevin Smith will bring it out from a couple of yards deep.
There you go.
And he's tackled at the 27-yard line by Alex Debniak and Blake Luters. So here comes Keith Price. He's taken over the reins from Jake Locker, who, like Andrew Luck, surprised many when he decided to come back last year as a senior. Many people were surprised that Luck came back, because Jake Locker might have actually hurt himself by staying through his senior year with the way his stock dropped off slightly. Didn't hurt him all that much, though. He was still a first-round pick by Tennessee. Price is playing at a high level as the new trigger man for Washington, in trouble off the first snap and taken down by Jarek Lancaster. It's a Stanford team that leads the Pac-12 in sacks. That's their 24th of the year, 4th in the nation.
And you have a double move route, which takes a little bit more time, Sean. And Lancaster, of course, comes with the pressure and they're not able to find the double move. It was wide open, but they're able to get the sack.
Lancaster stepped in as a starter when they lost their best defensive player, Shane Scove, in week 3 against Arizona with a knee injury. Price on 2nd and 18. Throws back to Chris Polk, their fine running back. He weaved ahead for about 6 yards. Did well to get that. Michael Thomas made the stop with Pat Masafilo. Chris Polk, 2nd in the Pac-12 in rushing and 7th in the country at 121 yards per game in this conference, behind only LaMichael James. Austin Safarian-Jenkins is a great talent, true freshman tight end who can stretch the field, averaging 16 yards per catch, and their leading wide receiver is Jermaine Kearse.
John, they're going with 4 wides, and if they're going to make this thing work, they've got to be able to protect Price. That's the whole key to this whole offense.
See a variety of personnel groups and formations, motions and shifts from Washington. Quick hitter and a complete pass to James Johnson. Looks like he's going to get a favorable spot. Looked from here like he might have bounced to that yellow line, but they're going to mark it right on the yellow line, and Jay Stricker says it's a first down.
You know, one of the things you'll notice right away, Steve Sarkisian is one of the best play callers.
We got a great spot there.
Yeah, he did. It's pretty healthy. He's one of the best play callers in the NCAA. And he knows this team. He feels good about where the offense is. It's progressed from where we've seen it a month ago.
And off to Polk. He's in trouble immediately and driven back by Matt Masafilo. Part of that three-man defensive line. They play a 3-4 defense as their base. Their impact players on defense include Chase Thomas, who leads the Pac-12 in sacks, is 8th in the country in that category. Michael Thomas is their defensive captain, moving from free safety to strong safety tonight. They're without Delano Howell, their usual starting strong safety, out with a hand injury. Second down, 12. Washington from its own 35, and an incomplete pass in the direction of Jermaine Kearse, who got a piece of it. Michael Thomas had the coverage. Stanford's offense gets most of the headlines, but the Cardinal defense ranks as one of the best in the country, leading the Pac-12 in 7 defensive team categories.
Not a real big group, Sean. Great movement. They do a really good job up front, and they play with good intensity. Look at this, only 2 down linemen. Now they're going to go to a third rusher. That means there's 8 people back.
Third down and 12. Price throws short to Polk, and he's smothered immediately. Jack Lancaster again, sophomore from Texas.
Even with the 3 rushers, they still were able to get pressure. That does not bode well for a Washington offense.
Kyle Rasp on the punt. Senior from Seattle. Low kick and a fair catch made by Drew Terrell. 39-yard punt. Andrew Luck and the Stanford offense back on the field right after this.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Nissan, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy. And Northwestern Mutual, the power to predict your own financial future. Learn more at northwesternmutual.com.
Beautiful night here just south of San Francisco, California. 81 degrees at kickoff. Stanford scored on its first possession. Washington forced to punt. There comes Andrew Luck.
That's pretty good. A lot of teams would take a 30-second of that kid.
Already talk that perhaps some NFL teams should go in the tank to make sure they get Andrew Luck. Highly touted and living up to it in every way. Throws on the run. Caught by Griff Whalen, one of his roommates, who lost the ball on the tackle by Sean Parker. They ruled him down at the Washington 41. Luck right on target, and another big gainer for Stanford.
Sean, I want you to see 2 things. One was patience. Patience to be able to let it develop, and then 2, decision making. We talked about it at the top. He had a chance to go underneath, but he also saw he had Whalen down the field. He took the big one.
And the physical talent's pretty good too.
Not too shabby.
Perfect throw right on the run, right on the money, 32 yards. Talking about Jake Locker's experience. His status might have dropped in the eyes of the NFL and anything. Luck's just cemented his reputation. His numbers have gotten better in just about every area this year. Complete pass to Chris Owusu and a first down to the 29-yard line.
So let's just look at what he does. He's got all the physical tools, Sean. That's from the running part of it to the throwing part of it. He has great football intelligence. Knows the game, knows this offense, knows his players. Off the charts intangibles, those are the things that really count. And this one, the character off the field, because under pressure, character really comes through, and he's the guy who personifies character.
And said he's the most NFL-ready college quarterback since Peyton Manning, and he really does resemble Peyton on and off the field. He throws a deep ball, an errant throw, and it should have been picked off by Desmond Trufant. Intended for Griff Whalen, but that wasn't close from Luck, who's thrown only 3 interceptions this year, and 2 of those passes were deflected before they were picked off.
And watch Trufant. He's going to stay on the top side so he can play the ball. And the anticipation there was that Whalen was going to go to the outside. It didn't happen. And so that's a great example because, look, as good as the kid is, good as anybody is, you're never flawless. You always make mistakes.
He grew up around the game. His dad, Oliver Luck, was a terrific quarterback at West Virginia and then in the NFL with Houston. Now the athletic director at West Virginia. Short pass to Owusu, swung out of bounds by Jamal Curse, the younger brother of their wide receiver, Jermaine Curse. That's an 8-yard gain for Stanford.
You know, Stanford, under David Shaw, there's a lot of similarities, obviously, with Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh did a terrific job here. But he does a nice job with knowing what his team is and knowing what each player can do. And he does a great job of putting them in positions to do what they can do.
Largely, he's kept it the same from what they were doing under Harbaugh, which is smart. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. 3rd and 2. Luck, who's an excellent runner as well, fires a strike. Incomplete. Intended for Zach Ertz, but Sean Parker with a sturdy hit broke it up. And the field goal unit will come on.
Yeah, and that's the 3rd play now that Sean Parker has made. The first play of the game, he did a nice job in making it slow down, and then he had an earlier one, a tackle on the sideline, and now this one. Sean Parker's a good football player, has very good instincts.
They're deep at safety. They rotate 4, including Parker. Here's Jordan Williamson, redshirt freshman, who's 8 out of 9 for the year in field goals. The long of 45. This is from 39. Needs a hook. And he got just enough of a hook to get it inside the right upright. So they've had the ball twice. They've scored twice. Number 8, Stanford, leading Washington 10-0. This week on ESPN Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens and their stifling D head to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Ravens and the Jags. ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern. Coverage starting at 7 with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Talked a lot already about what a great job Jim Harbaugh did here at Stanford. His brother John has done equally a wonderful job as the head coach of the Ravens. They're 4-1 again this year. Been in the playoffs every year under John Harbaugh. Jordan Williamson's kickoff brought back by Kevin Smith. And he did not reach the 20-yard line. Here's Kevin Connors.
All right, Sean, your Taco Bell studio update. For those of you expecting to see Oklahoma Texas Tech, keep an eye on the left-hand portion of your screen. Severe weather in Norman has delayed things. They are anticipating a 9:15 Eastern kickoff between the Sooners and Red Raiders. Meantime, Russell Wilson has thrown a touchdown. Wisconsin leads Michigan State 14-0. And Penn State up on Northwestern at the half. Sean?
All right, Kevin, thank you. Here Stanford leads 10-0. Cardinal with 11 plays from scrimmage, 5 of them for 10 yards or more. Keith Price on 1st and 10 for Washington. Finally gets it off short, and that speedy Stanford defense is all over Chris Polk again. Just a 1-yard gain. Terrence Brown, the cornerback, closed quickly.
Sean, more important, and you're right, they're all over Polk, but they're all over Price. And if this offensive line doesn't get settled down and handle this pressure from Stanford, we're not going to be able to see what Price can do. Now, he can buy some time. They're going to have to start moving the pocket and get him away from some of that pressure. But Price, I hope we get to see now what I've been watching on tape. Because this kid's a good player.
Take the handoff to Polk. Quick pass to Jermaine Curse. But again, the speed, team speed of that Stanford defense evident. And he stopped at the 27. It'll be 3rd and 4. Here's Heather.
Guys, we will need to keep a track of that Stanford pressure because Steve Sarkisian admitted that quarterback Keith Price is still hampered by a sprained left ankle and that Price isn't moving around as well as normal. He's got a nagging little hitch and he's not running or moving the way that he'd like. In fact, so much so that lack of mobility is changing Sark's play calling at times. Something to keep an eye on.
He injured his ankle 2 weeks ago in the first quarter of their win over Utah. Had knee issues earlier in the year. Those are no longer a problem. On 3rd and 4, another short pass. Missed tackle allows Devin Aguilar to get the first down and much more.
Aguilar, this is on him completely. They throw short of the first down, and then I want you to watch. There's 2 ways to finish. How to finish at the end on the pass rush, well done. And then finish right here as a runner. Extremely well done. Lowers the shoulder and picks up the first down.
Missed tackle by Johnson Batamosi, the cornerback, who's their leading tackler for the year. 13-yard gain, longest of the game for Washington. Chris Polk, a hard-earned 3 or 4 up the middle, taken down by Chase Thomas.
You know, Sean, when we were watching tape, and the one guy who jumped off the tape was Chase Thomas. And one of the things that you see across the board with this Stanford defense, he's the guy who champions all that. It's awesome effort, great intensity, and they come play after play after play. I mentioned earlier, they're not the biggest, but they do a great job of never quitting. Great motor.
Wildcat snap. Jesse Collier keeps it. He's the backup running back behind Chris Polk. He got just a yard. And now Price will come back on for a third down play. Both of these teams for the year 51% on third down, tied for the tops in the Pac-12 and among the best in the country, tied for 9th in the country coming in.
Protection is the key for Washington. Pressure is the key for Stanford.
Third down and 6, under 4 minutes to go, first quarter. Varian Jenkins, the tight end, went in motion, and it's a complete pass to Aguilar and a first down into Cardinal territory at the 46-yard line, where he was taken down by Michael Thomas.
And so Stanford decides to bring some pressure, but nice job there of picking it up inside by Chris Polk. And because he's able to pick up the extra man, Price is able to be on target. This is a very young Washington Husky team. They're going to be good next year and the year after, but they're gaining confidence here against the Cardinal.
Keith Price, the quarterback, just a sophomore from Compton, California. Throwing a deep ball, and it is incomplete over the head of Aguilar. He was trying to split a couple of defenders, Michael Thomas and Johnson Batamosi. Mentioned Keith from Compton, very tough neighborhood. As he was getting to high school, he actually moved in with his grandmother, Gail Manuel, who's here tonight. She lived in Long Beach and has been a great influence on her grandson. Worked hard for 35 years, just retired working at a rehab center in Downey, California, so she can travel around and watch her grandson play. What a nice young man he is. Here's Chris Polk off and running. Breaking tackles, and he's going to go! Touchdown, Washington! "46 yards for Polk." And Washington helped on that possession by some missed tackles by the Stanford defense.
And some great blocking by the Washington. Varian Jenkins right there is the first one. And he kind of just gets enough in the way to do that. And Kevin Smith is the guy who springs it at the end. So just staying on somebody makes Graham pretty happy. And Sean, Grahams don't look like that.
No, she's a very young-looking grandmother.
That is a good-looking Graham.
There's Eric Folk, who adds the extra point. Chris Polk caps an 80-yard drive with a 46-yard run. Eric Folk kicks off for Washington. Huskies are on the board. First points allowed by Stanford in the first quarter this year. Ty Montgomery brought the kickoff back to the 20. Stopped there by Princeton Fuimaono. Stanford, the last team in the country to allow points in the first quarter. Comes in game 7. Chris Polk, the touchdown.
Good bit of running and a good bit of following his blockers. Good patience, Sean, to allow those guys to get in a position to be able to make the shield for him to make the big play.
There's Andrew Luck. They've had the ball twice. They've scored twice, a touchdown and a field goal. Stephon Taylor, the tailback. He gets the call on first down to the 24 for 4. Tackled by Justin Glenn, the safety.
One of the things that Stanford does extremely well with Oliver Luck is they usually, I'm talking about his dad, Andrew Luck, is they put themselves in a position with numbers. Like right now, they have 7 offensive linemen. They're heavy on this side. And so he'll look at the numbers in the box and go the opposite way.
Moves it off to Tyler Gaffney. He breaks free. And pulled out of bounds at the 48-yard line by Justin Glenn, who saved a touchdown. Gaffney is a home run hitter, according to the coaches, and he nearly hit one out of the park right there.
You split this thing in half, and then you just look at numbers. You see where are the fewest numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have yourself 4 plus a guy who pulls from the backside. You got 5 on 4. You win.
24-yard gain. Got a lot of big chunk plays here in the first quarter. Gaffney again, junior from San Diego. Up just short of the midfield line. Oliver Luck is here tonight, Andrew's dad, the athletic director at West Virginia, who could not have enjoyed his school going down to defeat last night on ESPN against the rapidly improving Orange of Syracuse University, or as it is known, the Harvard of Central New York.
At least that's how it's known to some of their graduates, Mr. Graduate.
Yes, indeed. It's in lieu of a donation to the Alumni Fund. A little love on national TV. Gaffney, how about that backfield? They shift Zach Ertz out just a moment and give it to Gaffney, who breaks a tackle. Well, they say he's a big playmaker, and he's living up to it. To the 21-yard line goes Gaffney. Will Schamberger, another part of that deep safety core for Washington, made the tackle after a 30-yard run.
Now, what happens is you're going to have a free hitter. And that time, Justin Glenn was the free hitter, and he was hit. And just nice job of just running through it.
Then 3 in a line behind Luck. Ertz moving again. And here's Gaffney. Tripped up after getting inside the 20. They'll mark it close to the 17. Nate Fellner tripped him up. Junior safety from Fresno, California. The grandson of the former Fresno State head coach Jim Sweeney.
Good football coach.
Yes.
And he would approve of what he's seeing with this Stanford offense. You know, one of the strengths of this offense, Sean, is their tight end core. Fleener, Ertz, Toilolo, all 3 of them bring something special to this offense, and they use it.
Luck looking to throw on 2nd and 7. Dumps it short for Stephon Taylor, who lunges inside the 15-yard line. It'll be 3rd and a short for Court Dennison, and Everett Thompson made the tackle for Washington on what might be the last play of the first quarter. Looks like it will be, as Luck is starting to lead them to the other end of the field. Andrew Luck 6 out of 8 for 70 yards in that first quarter. In this top 25 matchup, it's Stanford with a 3-point lead over Washington. Welcome back to Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Stanford leading Washington 10-7 as we continue Dr. Pepper's road to the championships. Both of these teams eyeing a Pac-12 championship. Stanford leads 10-7 after a quarter. 3rd down and 4. They're in the red zone again, and a whistle. And a timeout called by Washington.
Yeah,
Washington.
Nick Holt, the defensive coordinator. A lot on his plate tonight, trying to defend this talented Stanford bunch that throws so many different looks at you.
Well, he knew he had a problem right there. They're looking at this as a big 3rd down. If they can hold him to a field goal, that's going to be a huge play for him. And so they came out in trips. They motioned back. Luck saw that he had man coverage going through, but they were backed off on the left side. And Nick Holt quickly hit the timeout to get them back into where he needed them to be.
Holt and Sarkisian believe their defense has played better in recent weeks. But there are questions about just how good both of these teams are, because neither one of them has played a particularly rigorous schedule. We'll know a lot more about just how good these two teams are tonight. After the timeout, 3rd and 4 again. Luck. Quick pop. Griff Whalen all alone. And lunging for the goal line They're going to mark him down inside the 1. Gregory Ducray tackled him just short of the end zone.
So this time they come out and they spread him. And Luck sees immediately that they're in a zone. And so the outside receiver runs them off, and defensively they give. So Luck just takes what he gives him. It's just stealing underneath, and Whalen with a great effort.
His knees down before he got it across the goal line. Good spot by the officials. On first and goal, Luck throws, and it is caught for a touchdown by Kobe Fleener.
Sean, that throw, that was an NFL throw right there.
That's an NFL tight end. He threw it too. In the 6'6", 254-pounder senior, Kobe Fleener.
This is called getting thrown open. The defender is on the top side. That's Greg Ducray. He's going to take away the throw to the outside. So Luck threw it to the other side where he couldn't turn his body and allowed his tight end to make it.
Jordan Williamson adds the extra point. Early in the second quarter, 17-7 for Andrew Luck in Stanford. Stanford has already had 8 plays from scrimmage of 12 yards or more. And the Cardinal leading 17-7 after an 80-yard drive in 8 plays. Jordan Williamson will kick off. Jesse Collier and Kevin Smith back deep for Washington. Comes down to Collier. These have been the 2 best kickoff return teams in the Pac-12 this season, but the coverage has carried the day tonight. Jeff Mencken made the tackle. Here's a look at our Southwest Airlines playbook.
Why don't you watch Greg Ducray? He's on the top side. He actually plays this thing pretty well. Fleener is going to get to the top side, and Ducray tries to defend 2 guys, and he waits for his linebacker to give him some help. There goes Fleener to the top side. See how he tries to help until Kirsch comes. He takes away the anticipated throw, but the quarterback, who sees the coverage, comes back to the other side, back shoulder, throws him open, 6 quick.
On the kicking team, number 19. 15-yard penalty, first down.
It's on the kicker, Jordan Williamson.
He's a rough one. Nothing like a physical kicker, that's what I always say. Have never met one, however, but that's what I always say.
Wonder what he did. He seems confused. A break for Washington. The ball comes out to the 31-yard line. Chris Polk powering through a tackle. 8-yard gain to the 39-yard line. Jarek Lancaster made the stop for the Cardinal.
Chris Polk is a player, Sean, we saw about a month ago, and you could see he wasn't quite right yet. He had had a little knee surgery done prior to the opening of the season, and he was just starting to come back. But since that time, he has gotten better and better. This is one of the players in the NCAA. Not a lot of people know about him. He's really a good football player.
Second all-time leading rusher at Washington, behind only Napoleon Kaufman. Polk again burst through the hole across midfield. He might go. One man to beat. Browning had the angle and did not get him. Touchdown, another long TD run by Polk. 61 yards.
So how do you get a 23-yard average? Well, you just follow your blocks on the inside. Really well done right here. You can see the lane. Now the offensive line has done their job. It's on you to beat the other defenders. He does a nice job beating the safety, and he's in the end zone.
Flags on the extra point try. Senio Calamete, the left tackle.
Legal
pulled.
substitution, 12 players in a defensive formation.
Steve Sarkisian says Calamete is playing at an all Pac-12 level. Chris Polk is too. Mentioned he's second in all-time yardage behind Napoleon Kaufman. He's just tied Kaufman for the all-time school record with a 17th career 100-yard rushing game.
Napoleon Kaufman was one heck of a football player. Came to the Oakland Raiders, and I believe he's got a ministry now.
Eric Folk has never missed an extra point, and he still has it. Now 97 for 97 in his career. Entertaining game, 3-point margin right now.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The 2011 Ford F-150, built Ford tough. And Red Lobster, where we seafood differently.
Just a couple miles down the street from Stanford Stadium in nearby Mountain View, the Computer History Museum, the world's leading institution exploring the history of computing and its ongoing impact on society. A lot of the great advances in that area have been made right here in this area around the Silicon Valley. Eric Folk kicks off down to the 8-yard line, and Ty Montgomery, who brought one back for a touchdown last week at Washington State. He's down to the 30-yard line here in the arms of Will Schamberger. Here's Kevin Connors.
All right, John, Taco Bell studio update. It had been all USC through the first 26 minutes in South Bend. The Trojans led 17-0 until Andre Haderi, 96 yards on the kickoff return, and a flicker of life from the colder than usual Golden Domers. 17-7, SC leads. Sean?
Yes, under the lights in South Bend tonight. First time ever that game's been played under the lights in South Bend. Luck under center on 1st and 10. Quick hitter, Taylor, right through the defense. He's off to the races, and they won't catch him. 70-yard touchdown.
Didn't take long. John, they came out in their 7 linemen. They call it their Hulk package. And it's all big bodies. And again, it's up to Andrew Luck, to put him in. I know Oliver too well. To put him in the right play. And he did it yet again.
Here's Jordan Williamson adding the extra point. So the long run by Polk answered immediately on this scamper for a touchdown by Stephon Taylor, the junior from Mansfield, Texas.
See those lines? Those are all offensive linemen. There are 7 of them in there. And that's your big Hulk package. And then you bring another lineman over to the 5 side. That gives you 6. And then that's poor job on the defensive side with the linebackers. You have to be able to control gaps. They weren't able to do it. Dennison just got out of the way. Court Dennison 31. And then it's off to the races.
I think it's become clear, Matt, if Washington is going to pull off the upset tonight, they're going to have to outscore Stanford and win a shootout, because their defense hasn't been very good this year against far inferior competition to what they're facing tonight against this Stanford bunch.
You know, Sean, you and I were talking about that this morning at one of our meetings, that's what it would have to be. It was going to have to be high scoring, and in order for them to do that, their offensive line was going to have to pick it up. Defensively, they were going to struggle. We kind of knew that. So their offensive line had to pick it up in terms of protection. They've run the football here pretty well. Let's see what happens.
Williamson kicks off. Hopefully for Stanford, he'll behave himself after this kickoff. Jesse Collier out to the 22-yard line. Blake Luter's the tackle. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. A lot to summarize already. 283 yards of offense for Stanford, and most of it on the ground. As you said earlier, they consider themselves a run-first team. About 53% of their plays this year have been run. Three of the last 4 plays from scrimmage in this game have gone for touchdowns. And a long throw to Safarian Jenkins over the middle. He got 20 yards out to the 41. where A.J. Tarpley and Jordan Richards made the tackle. Richards is a true freshman in that secondary now for Stanford, playing without their starting safety, Delano Howell.
Yeah, and Washington knows it. And Safarian Jenkins, the talented freshman tight end who has really good speed, he's a factor in that secondary. You have to always be aware of him when he comes on the field.
Five receivers for Keith Price out of the shotgun. Four-man rush. Kason Williams, highly recruited true freshman. His first catch of the night. He returned punts only last week because of a sprained ankle, but back at wide receiver tonight with an 8-yard gain.
So one of the things that Steve Sarkisian does, he knows his offensive line, they're getting pressure. So one of the things you can do is just spread everybody out. And then it's easier for your quarterback to see who can come. Who's going to blitz, who's not going to blitz. You see the pressure's a lot easier. He's been using that well.
2nd and 2. Quick slant, caught, first down and much more. Jermaine Kearse to the 35-yard line, tackled by Johnson Batamosi.
What a nice throw by Price and nice anticipation. Here's what you have when you get to the line of scrimmage. You see the coverage, and then you know what you have called, and you know where, if you're the good ones, they know what's going to match up well. Well, I'm going to tell you something. This kid's one of the good ones. He sees it well, and the ball comes out fast, has great anticipation.
Price zips one, and it's dropped by Kearse inside the 15-yard line.
You only have so many opportunities, and you have to be able to take advantage every single one. Kearse is going to run. That's a nice little route that he's run. The difference between the play, make the catch. Lancaster had the underneath coverage, Sean, so he threw it to the other side of him. That's well done by Price.
Washington with 7 first downs already. That matches the total they had for the entire game last year in Seattle, when they were shut out 41-0. Cross midfield only once in that game. Price, a little bit too long for James Johnson, with Johnson Batamosi running in coverage. 3rd down and 10 to come.
Well, Derek Mason and Jason Tarver are the co-defensive coordinators for Stanford, and they are not afraid to dial up pressure, Sean. That time they brought off the corner, they brought a blitz. They've been bringing linebackers. They're not afraid to move the defensive front and have them in concert with their linebackers and secondary on blitzes. They do a nice job.
That's Derek Mason. He's upstairs. Jason Tarver's on the field. 3rd down and 10. Price gave it off inside to Polk, and he has the first down.
What a great call.
Sure was. Sarkisian dials up a run on 3rd down and 10, and they get 11.
So we talk about the quarterbacks with anticipation. Play callers have to have great anticipation, and he does. He expects that they're going to get pressure from the outside, so he's going to break it back to the inside. He knows you're going to get pressure up the field. That's an excellent call and good execution by the offensive line. And Polk.
It's 4 straight 3rd down conversions now for Washington. 4 minutes into the 2nd quarter. Stanford leading 24-14. Washington driving again. Price, the quick set. James Johnson taken out of bounds after a 2-yard gain by Terrence Brown and Jarek Lancaster.
Sean, looks like right now the offensive line of Washington, as they go to their hurry up and the pace increases, the offensive line is settled in and kind of starting to figure out what the Stanford defensive front's giving them. Price running things at the line of scrimmage.
Kept it this time, then swings it out for Devin Aguilar, and there's a flag down as he was chopped down with a first down. Jordan Richards made the tackle, but there was a flag thrown. I believe it might be a holding penalty against Washington.
Holding on the offense, number 8. 10-yard penalty spot on the foul, still 2nd down.
Tevin Smith, sophomore from Compton, California, called for the hold.
You see right.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, he has him on his shoulder.
Yeah, there
that's
it
what
is.
he
A
saw.
handful. From that angle, a better look at it. It's the first penalty. Stepped off against Washington. Moves them out of the red zone. Back to the 26. 2nd and 12 with Chris Polk, the lone running back. 2 tight ends in the game for the Huskies. Pressure off the corner. Price throws incomplete. Looked like Austin Safarian-Jenkins didn't see the ball coming. Devin Carrington had the coverage.
Yeah, but Price really liked what he had there. He liked Safarian-Jenkins on that coverage, and he knew he was also going to take a shot because they came off the edge. Chase Thomas came free. He stood in there and delivered the nice throw. Big third down here for Washington.
They're 4 out of 5 on third down. They've converted the last 4, including that third down and 10 moments ago. 5 wide receivers, 3 to the right of Keith Price. 4-man rush. They get pressure, and they cannot get him down. Now they do as he gets rid of the ball, but they're going to mark him down. It'll be a sack for Blake Luters.
When you're playing zone, the best friend a zone coverage could have is pressure by your down 4 people, and they do it well here. Here comes Chase Thomas. That's the initial one, and then they finish it up with Luters on the backside, but 4 guys getting pressure, that is key.
Eric Folks, 8 out of 9. This is a 46-yard try. His only miss was from 52 against Cal. He's an excellent kicker, and he dunked it off the upright. And that's big. It would have been a 1-score game. And with the way Stanford is marching up and down the field against the Washington defense, the Huskies need to score whenever they can. Tonight's Affleck Trivia question: which 3 Stanford quarterbacks were selected number 1 overall in the NFL draft, as Andrew Luck is likely to be next spring? There are already 3 Stanford quarterbacks, the first player taken in the entire draft. 1st and 10 for Luck and the Cardinal from their own 28. Leading 24-14. Stephon Taylor gets 2 yards. Here's Heather Cox.
Sean, Washington defensive coordinator Nick Holt spent the entire series working with the secondary, especially cornerbacks Gregory Ducray and Quentin Richardson. He was full of questions, asking his DBs, who has the corner route? Do your job. You don't press and cover. That's what we do. Why are we late? Why is our coverage so soft? He finished by yelling, you are plain scared. Shake it off. We'll see if they play with more confidence here.
Stephon Taylor, the ball carrier. Out to the 34-yard line. Everett Thompson made the tackle.
Well, Sean, they're going to have their chance right now. Tighten your coverage up. It's a big third down. It's your opportunity for a defense to answer those 2 big scores you just gave up. See if they play scared or not.
Third down and 4.
Sitting in the zone.
Luck couldn't find anybody. Is going to try to run for it and has the first down across the 38. And that is a part of his game that goes perhaps underappreciated. He is a terrific runner. Has rushed for over 850 yards in his career. And the Washington people know that because he had his career high rushing total against them last year. Went for 91 yards, including a 51-yard touchdown.
Well, how about when he was telling us about he used to like to get a good hit to start the game just because it made him felt pretty good. Then he started to realize that maybe that's not such a good idea.
So the more I play football, the more I really don't need that sturdy hit to get me fully engaged in the game. Hand off to Taylor. Another nice quick move and an 8-yard run, and here's Kevin Connors.
All right, Sean, here's a look at your ESPN primetime pulse. Those of you awaiting the start of the Oklahoma-Texas Tech game, they're expecting a 9:35 Eastern kickoff over on ESPN. It's Wisconsin, a 14-9 lead on Michigan State. And ESPN2 Alabama getting all it wants from Tennessee, a 14-6 lead. Early third, Sean.
All right, Kevin, thank you. 2nd and 2. And that line behind Luck again. And once again, they move Ertz. And give it to Taylor. Into the secondary again. Finally run out of bounds by Justin Glenn and Quentin Richardson. And Nick Holt might have some more questions for his secondary when they come back to the sideline.
Well, he just better ask what's going on up front. There's 54 Yankee, 55 Martin. They are just getting on people and mauling them. Nice job by Tyler Gaffney. It's just well done all the way around. Zach Ertz, number 86, you've seen him. They're winning the line of scrimmage.
Tyler Gaffney slithers ahead to the 25-yard line. Fort Dennison made the tackle. Stanford has scored every time it's had the ball tonight. We're approaching the red zone again.
You see that 6 rush, 0 pass? That means sooner or later, here comes the play action. You want your linebackers and safeties coming down hard, and then here comes the fake. They get to the next level, and then Luck takes advantage of it.
Another run for Gaffney. It was interesting talking to the offensive coordinator, Pep Hamilton, yesterday. He said we want to start the game as a power running team. And then we want to go to our passing game, a lot of play action passes, throw for about 300 yards. And then we want to finish the game as a power running team after we've worn the defense out.
And that all comes from Jim Harbaugh. When Harbaugh got here, he gave this group some toughness. And he's doing the same thing with the 49ers right now. And Pep Hamilton, you see him right there, he latched onto that and he's running with it.
Jeremy Stewart came in and then shifted out wide to the left. Luck on 3rd down and 4 from the 23. Throws it immediately to Chris Owusu. Flag throw. Might have been a face mask as they took the helmet of Owusu off. Trufant and Parker on the tackle.
Owusu's the one guy who has some good speed. And Trufant got all that face mask. And like you said, he just took the helmet right off him.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 1. Penalties before it's half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
I think they announced it on the wrong number.
Yeah, it's Trufant. You can see it right here. It's his left hand.
He's the younger brother of the Seahawks, Marcus Trufant. 1st and goal for Stanford, trying to build on a 10-point lead as we approach 5 minutes left in the first half. Pistol with Stewart behind Luck. Luck keeps it. Flag thrown at the line of scrimmage in the area you'd expect a holding call. Princeton Fuimaono made the tackle at the 4. I think the NFL teams who are hoping to get Andrew Luck.
Holding on the offense, number 64. 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Like that call? The design run at the goal line?
Down is 1.
You know, Sean, I think back to one of my former teammates, Jim Plunkett, who was a Heisman Trophy winner here at Stanford in 1970. And very similar. Big man, 6'3", 235 pounds, 240, could run, had everything you wanted. Was the number 1 overall pick, went to the Patriots, and they put the option in.
Yeah. And he became a human piñata.
Oh, they beat the snot out of that poor guy.
Ball back to the 19 after the holding call against the center. Sam Schwartzstein is another one of Luck's roommates. Over the middle, caught. Zach Ertz to the 5-yard line. I think Jim Plunkett might be part of the answer to that Aflac trivia question. The 3 Stanford quarterbacks selected number 1 overall. We know he's one of them. John Elway's one of them.
The other one. And the 3rd one is really interesting. It's in 1953.
So you played against him?
Yeah, I was a rookie. And he only lasted for a year by the Cleveland Browns.
and they traded him because he had a stuttering problem, and he couldn't make the calls. And they traded him to Green Bay for Babe Parilli. Interesting.
Talking about Bobby Garrett. Long line of great quarterbacks here at Stanford. Luck, design roll to the right, and a touchdown to Drew Terrell.
Every time you watch Andrew Luck, he's just so impressive. He puts the ball where it has to be. It's highly accurate. He throws a very catchable ball. You see him change the speed on his balls many, many times. He's just an impressive player.
First career touchdown reception for Terrell, junior from Chandler, Arizona. 10 plays, 72 yards. The points just keep on coming for Luck and Stanford, leading now by 17. Time now to answer tonight's Athletic Trivia question. Which 3 Stanford quarterbacks were selected number 1 overall in the NFL draft? John Elway, Jim Plunkett, and Bobby Garrett. You can see on your screen some of the other great quarterbacks. John Brody, Frankie Albert back in the late 30s and early 40s. Recent years, guys like Trent Edwards and Turk Schonert. Andrew Luck just moved past John Pay for 3rd all-time in passing yards at Stanford with more than 7,700. Jordan Williamson's kickoff to Kevin Smith. He brought it back out to the 38-yard line. Tackled by Jarek Lancaster. Here's a look at the night Andrew Luck's had so far.
Well, we talked about him at the start with his decision-making, and he is not disappointed. And then we talked again about his accuracy, and he is not disappointed. And then we talked about his ability to throw on the run and change the velocity, and he's not disappointed. Sean, this kid's just got it. I mean, we should just enjoy him. He's the Peyton Manning of the NCAA.
Chris Polk carries and fights for every yard. He got about 8. Here are his numbers tonight with the 180s up to 7,740 career passing yards. 3rd all-time at Stanford behind only Steve Stenstrom, who has more than 10,500. And the great John Elway. And what a lot of people don't know, there was a lot of hoopla about he came back this year, so I think people think he's a senior. He's a junior in football eligibility. He redshirted his first year here. Jim Harbaugh said that was a hard decision to make because he knew Luck was his most talented quarterback, but he thought Luck would benefit from sitting out a year. So he could come back again, but he's not going to. Chris Polk carries for a 1st down. And you mentioned Peyton Manning,
right?
And I think he's the comparison that's most frequently made with Luck. I had the great privilege of broadcasting a lot of Peyton Manning's games when he was in college at Tennessee, and he was fantastic.
Right.
But to me, at this point in his career, as a college quarterback, Andrew Luck is better than Peyton Manning was in college. And I don't say that lightly. And with all due respect to the great Peyton Manning.
And with great reason, Sean. I mean, he shows it every week.
And they are a lot alike. That's why the comparisons are valid. Price to Safarian Jenkins, who comes up a yard short of the 1st down. On and off the field. And they have the size, all the arm skills that you'd want. Luck's probably a better runner. And then mentally, as you pointed out, they have all the intelligence and the intangibles and the leadership and the ability to do all the stuff at the line. Luck's been calling his own plays for portions of their recent games. He's going to be a great player in the NFL for a long time. Barring a miracle, will be the first player taken in the next draft. Polk on 2nd and 1, stuff for a loss. Back to the 41-yard line. Well, bring up 3rd down and 4. Matt Masafilo, part of that defensive front. The only returning starter on the D-line for Stanford this year.
And Chase Thomas in there. And then that's another example of Derek Mason and Jason Tarver, the defensive coordinators, of using the movement that they have. They're not an overly big group, but they do have excellent movement, and they use it all the time. They're not afraid to use it. Big down here for Washington.
Never think 4 down territory. Sarkisian knows he's going to have to win a shootout here tonight. Price out of the gun. 3 receivers bunched tight to the right. Throws it in that direction, and it's intercepted by Michael Thomas. Price, the only man with a shot at him, and he doesn't get him. Touchdown by the Stanford defense.
Great anticipation by Thomas. They came out with a set, Sean, that they tried to back you off as a defender in that bunch package. But it was the great anticipation. When he saw it, he jumped the route, and he was able to score.
It was only the 2nd interception of the season for the Stanford defense, as great as they have been this year. They have just 2 interceptions, both by Michael Thomas, the senior from Houston, Texas. He returned at 61 yards. Williamson's extra point has made it 38-14.
Well, we're going to show you that bunch. Here it is. 3 guys. See, what that makes you do defensively is back off, because you have to let them declare what they're going to do. Now watch the patience right there. So he saw it and anticipated the in route.
They threw it to the wrong guy.
Yes.
Aguilar was wide open, cutting to the middle of the field. Andrew Luck, the other captain of this team, along with Thomas, celebrating the score by the defense. Well, we asked Michael Thomas about it yesterday. He said, how come you guys only have 1 interception as a team the whole year? He said, well, we get sacks. He said, we cover long enough that they can get a lot of sacks. We lead the conference in sacks. So, come on, that's kind of a lame story. You guys must not be able to catch. He said, oh, we can catch. And he caught that one.
And, you know, he is right, Sean. The aggressive nature of the defensive coordinators. They'll send corners, they bring safeties, they do a lot of different things. They're multifaceted back there in terms of what they do. But that right there was just great anticipation and bringing it back.
Jordan Williamson ready to kick off. 38 points. And the timeout called. Clock was running. I don't know why that was the case. Well, coming up at the half, stay tuned. Robert Flores, Jesse Palmer, the Capital One halftime report. All the scores and highlights from today's college football action. David Shaw with 38 points for the half, 28 in the second quarter, the most points Stanford has scored in a quarter this season. Matt, they're 6-0 with the great numbers on both sides of the ball, but only 8th in the first BCS standings. Computers certainly didn't appreciate the schedule. They've defeated San Jose State, Duke, Arizona, UCLA, Colorado, and Washington State. Not exactly a murderer's row. So tonight was the game we thought we'd learn a lot about Stanford, and you have to like what you've learned. You're a Cardinal fan.
And you get the feeling that they've just kind of been holding back. And I still get that same feeling. They present you some problems by formation because of those 3 tight ends. And this offensive line is a good offensive line.
Jesse Callier, the kickoff return. He races out of bounds at the 25. After wrecking last week in Charlotte, Jimmy Johnson dropped from 3rd to 8th in the chase standings. Here's his long run of the top gun with just 5 races to go. JJ's looking to bounce back this week, give points leader Carl Edwards a run for his money. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues tomorrow at Talladega, with coverage beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN, with NASCAR Countdown presented by Napa. And they're tightly bunched at the top, with Edwards just ahead of Devin Harvick and Matt Kenseth.
Well, whenever you see Talladega, all I can think of is shake and bake. I don't know if it'll work in this race, but it sure was funny when we watched it on this big screen.
Jimmy Johnson, 5-time defending champion. That streak's in jeopardy. Keith Price, under a minute to go. 2 timeouts left for Washington. Varian Jenkins the catch and a first down, an 11-yard gain to the 36-yard line, tackled by Devin Carrington. They have to try to attack here and score.
And they will have to quicken the pace in the second half when they come out again.
Trying to surprise them with the run. Polk thrown down by Trent Murphy after a 3-yard gain, and Sarkisian will use the timeout, leaving him with 1. Then we mentioned the soft schedule played by Stanford so far tonight, so far this season. Coming into tonight 6-0, but no ranked teams. Same really true of Washington. They're 5-1. Matt, but the 5 wins against less than stellar competition, and the 1 loss was at Nebraska when they lost a shootout 51-38 and had a particularly bad third quarter. So Washington with a chance to earn some believers tonight.
But you know, Sean, I think this is a better team than what we saw a month ago, and you can see with all the points now, you may say, where's the better team? There's no question they're better. His quarterback is a good player.
Yeah, a very good offensive team, but the defense is a long way to go. Varian Jenkins to the 33-yard line of Stanford, and a first down. They have a chance to score before halftime. Clock runs as they reset the chains. Price with a flag down in the area again. You'd expect holding. The ankle clearly a problem there as he limps out of bounds at the 18-yard line. There is a flag thrown by the umpire, who gave a hands to the face gesture. Timothy Morris is the umpire.
Personal foul on the offense, number 64, blow to the head. 15-yard penalty, still first down.
Colin Tanagawa, redshirt freshman guard, whom Steve Sarkisian praised. When we talked with the coach the other day, he said Collins had a tremendous year. Whoa. That looks like it's up on the shoulder pad, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. And the umpire was behind him, so he didn't really see exactly where it was. But that's the second time, Sean, on the series that a big penalty has taken them back and put them in a poor position.
I thought with the quick glance there, it looked like a punch to the shoulder pad more than anything. They're back at the 48. They blitz off the corner. Price, the quick hitter, to the 39. They're going to have to use their last timeout. Varian Jenkins made the stop way short of the first down. Line of scrimmage will be the 39 when they snap it again with just 9 seconds to go and no timeouts. A lot of similarities between these two programs. You think about the disastrous year each of them had really in their recent history. Stanford had a 1-11 season the last year under Walt Harris. That brought Jim Harbaugh to town. We all know what he did. And of course, Washington had a winless season the last year under Ty Willingham. But what Steve Sarkisian has done in a very short period of time is really remarkable.
He really has. He's done a great job of recruiting, and he has not been afraid to play young players. This roster is loaded with freshmen and sophomores. They're going to be better. It's going to be a good football team next year and the year after. And David Shaw has done the same thing. They've done a nice job of recruiting. They've maintained the status quo that Harbaugh's done. Both good young coaches.
2 of the 6 youngest coaches in the country. Price throws it away. Time for one more play. Sarkisian's just 37 years old, and David Shaw's 39. David Shaw, Stanford grad, class of 1994. Polk's going to the locker room a little bit early. Looks to be physically fine.
Not a bad half, 143 yards rushing.
Likely the last play of the half. 3rd down and 16. Just a 3-man rush. Price throws one deep down the far sideline. Didn't get it to the end zone, and that'll end the half. Devin Aguilar the catch. Out of bounds at the 9. 29-yard gain. The end of a offensive first half. And here's Heather Cox.
Coach Sark, Stanford bringing a lot of pressure. How do you get more protection for Keith Price?
Well, we had a couple blown protection assignments. That doesn't help, and they're collapsing the pocket pretty good. So we got to continue to rely on Chris Polk and get a score here to start the second half and see what can happen.
And Andrew Luck has had a lot of success. What can you do to force him into making some bad decisions?
Well, we got to try to get him to some longer third downs. Third and twos and threes are pretty easy for him.
Coach, thank you.
Okay.
Stanford had 355 yards of offense in the half. At the half, 38-14 is our score. Stanford has the lead. Here's Robert Flores, Jesse Palmer with the halftime report. Welcome back to Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Stanford Cardinal coming back onto the field for the second half with a 38-14 lead over 25th ranked Washington. And welcome back to Stanford, California. Sean McDonough and Matt Millen, 247 yards rushing for Stanford in that first half.
Yeah, and just fundamental football is what David Shaw said that he wanted to be able to do is control the offense and defensive lines, and he was able to do that. They had 356 yards of total offense in the first half, but Washington had 321. Now, they made some mistakes. They had a couple turnovers. But right now, Sean, this first series for Washington is crucial if they're going to have any shot here in the second half.
Jordan Williamson kicked off for the Cardinal, down to Jesse Collier about a yard deep in the end zone. Running sideways. And he did not reach the 20, down at the 17, tackled by Jarek Lancaster. Here's a look at the game summary presented by Pacific Life. Andrew Luck threw only 13 times, completed 11, including 2 touchdowns. The big story, the rushing. 247 yards, including the long touchdown run by Stephon Taylor. And Chris Polk rushed for 143 in the half for Washington, including 2 long touchdown runs of 46 and 61. Taylor's run went 70. Here's Polk again. Now to the 19, a gain of 3. Here's Heather Cox.
Sean, I talked to David Shaw about why that power running game has been so successful. He smiled as big as a Cheshire cat and said, if they're double teaming us, we're moving them. We're picking that person and moving them. He said, our big O-line has been so physical and just moving people where we want them to go. And then he added, our running backs are also playing physical, running with passion. And now, guys, in case you're wondering, David Shaw said, no, we won't change a thing. Big smiles all the way around.
That's smart by him. He's winning both sides of the line of scrimmage with his linemen.
5 wide receivers for Keith Price. On second down, was broken up by Jarek Lancaster, the inside linebacker, intended for Jermaine Kearse. 3rd down and 7. And upcoming.
Lancaster is the guy who took over for Scove. Shane Scove, who's really a terrific player, and Lancaster has done really having a heck of a night here tonight, but has picked up and filled in admirably. He's picking it up week in and week out, gets a little bit better in the passing game. Scove right there, you see, still on crutches.
Well, for the year, he was their leading tackler last season and was through 3 games this year until he injured his knee. Price on 3rd and 7 under duress. And it's batted down to the line of scrimmage. Matt Masafilo again.
Masafilo and Chase Thomas. He come off the top on the right side. That's Chase Thomas up top. He's been giving him pressure all year long. Oh, that is Masafilo. And Trent Murphy. Trent Murphy, the big outside linebacker, got himself some good pressure.
Now Rask punts, and a fair catch made by Drew Terrell. 42-yard punt, just the second punt of the game. Both have been by Washington. Matter of fact, the Stanford punter is David Green. He's a very honest young man. He said, I have a pretty easy job.
Yeah.
He's punted 15 times this year. Starting today's action, only Baylor had punted fewer times as a team than Stanford's 15.
Here they go in their Hulk formation again with their 7 linemen.
Here's Taylor. His 100-yard plus game is 4th of the season. 2nd in a row. He rushed for 100 right on the button last week at Washington State.
Yeah, Sean, at halftime, I saw the great Eddie George, and he had a big smile on his face, and he said, I am loving this offense. Of course, Eddie George, the Heisman Trophy winner out of the Ohio State University, and he said, that offense reminds me of exactly what we ran at Tennessee. Power left, power right, power left, power right.
Now Luck moves out to a wide receiver position. And they run the Wildcat with Gaffney, who handed it off to Anthony Wilkerson. And he's near a first down. And we've seen that Luck can play wide receiver. Earlier this season, he made one of the most memorable plays of the year against UCLA here at Stanford Stadium. Luck tossed it to Gaffney, who gave it to Terrell, and then the one-handed catch inbounds by Luck along the right sideline.
Not too shabby.
He's an outstanding athlete. Jeremy Stewart moves the chains on 3rd and 1. He gets to the 48. He was a basketball player in high school in Houston as well. He played against Michael Thomas in the Houston area several times. We asked Mike Thomas yesterday, who was a better basketball player, you or Luck? Most of the time we ask players in a meeting like that kind of question, oh, I was. But Thomas said no. Luck was a better basketball player, much better rebounder. He comes out wide again. Gaffney will take a direct snap. And he'll keep it this time. Bounces off, hits. He's into Washington territory, the 34-yard line. Gain of 18. Trufant and Richardson made the tackle for the Washington defense under siege again.
Well, all they're really doing, they're just going to lean on their offensive line. Their offensive line has just been opening holes all night long. They've run power, whether it's out of a traditional set or whether they split Luck out wide. It doesn't matter. Their offensive line is winning the battle.
Wilkerson lined up behind Luck. Looked like it might be an option, but Gaffney made a good choice to keep it. He's inside the 5 and pulled down by Court Dennison from behind. Quentin Richardson slowed him down. Another interesting play in its design and beautifully executed. One of the great things about coaching at Stanford, the coaches said, man, these guys are smart. They know what to do.
Well, what they did right there, when you start having option, that becomes assignment football. And Trufant he had to make a choice. He either had to take the pitcher or the pitch. He did neither. And he just ran it up back inside.
30-yard gain. 12 plays of double digits for David Shaw. It's one of the reasons they can do so many different things on both sides of the ball schematically, because they have very bright players. And there's Gaffney into the end zone for a touchdown.
That was way too easy. Against a Washington defense that had been gouged all through the first half. They continued it at the start of this third quarter.
Stanford has scored every time it has had the ball on offense. And they have a defensive touchdown as well on the interception return by Michael Thomas. 6 plays, 64 yards that drive. And Jordan Williamson adds the extra point. 45 points on the board for Stanford with a long way to go on homecoming. Certainly enjoying this homecoming on the Stanford campus. Number 8 Cardinal leading 45-14 over 25th ranked Washington. And Jordan Williamson kicks off. Jesse Callier. Stomach as he crossed the 20. They'll mark it near the 25. Time for tonight's big picture. Brought to you by Sony. And then he wondered how LSU would fare against Auburn after suspending some key players. They rolled. Biggest win ever over the Auburn Tigers. Arkansas trailed Ole Miss 17-0 and rallied to win in Oxford.
That was a good game.
Boise State, first home game as a Mountain West Conference team. The win over Air Force. Kellen Moore now tied with Colt McCoy for the most wins by a starting quarterback in FBS football history. And, of course, the big story of the weekend happened last night. The Syracuse Orange stunning West Virginia for the second year in a row. Great to see the rollicking crowd back at the Carrier, knowing what a wonderful job Doug Marrone has done in 3 seasons to bring that program way back, because it was way down when he got there. There's a guy who probably hasn't gotten enough credit nationally. 8 wins last year, 5 and counting this year.
That's a very good football team that he beat, and he did it the same way 2 years in a row.
Jeremy Stewart helped off for Stanford. Now Keith Price. It's pretty tough when you have 324 yards of total offense. Less than 4 minutes into the third quarter. Then you're behind by 31 points. And Polk buried behind the line by Chase Thomas. Here's Kevin Connors.
Sean, Notre Dame was down 17-10 on the doorstep of tying things up, though. Dane Christ on for the injured Tommy Reese. Christ fumbles the center exchange. USC safety Jawanza Starling scoops it up, brings it back 80 yards for the touchdown. Turnovers plaguing Notre Dame yet again. It's a 24-10 game early fourth quarter. Meantime, Philip Welch has just kicked a 33-yard field goal. Wisconsin back to within 23-17 on ESPN. Sean?
All right, Kevin, thank you. Another handoff, and Polk buried again by Chase Thomas. Chase was honorable mention All Pac-10 last year. He said one of his goals this season is to be first team All Pac-12, and he might be on his way, leading the conference in sacks and having another good night tonight.
Yeah, just a junior. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, runs well. Good instincts, and that's the first thing you notice right away. He'll get better. He doesn't quite understand the pass rushing with his hips yet, but he will eventually. He's got a good teacher. Chester McLaughlin, the old Oakland Raider, is helping that defensive line.
They bring pressure off the corner. Price throws to the far side, but Kevin Smith had little running room. That fast Stanford defense rallying quickly at the 22. That'll be a 3-and-out for Steve Sarkisian's offense. Michael Thomas in on the play. And Will Mahan is going to come in to punt. After 2 punts from Kyle Rasp, it's Mahan punting for just the 6th time this year. To Terrell. Caught it in traffic. Reached the 41 and then got banged down by Thomas Totogi.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Pacific Life. For insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed. And the 2012 Chevy Silverado HD.
Back in Stanford, California, on the campus of Stanford University. The Cardinal came in averaging 45.8 points per game, 5th in the nation, 2nd in the Pac-12 behind only Oregon. They've matched that with 45 points tonight. They're on their way to a huge night of offense. Nearly a full second half to go. They've scored every time they've had the ball. For the year, they've had only 4 3-and-outs. Fewest in the country. They haven't had one tonight, obviously. Andrew Luck with the fake. Nowhere to throw it, so he runs for about 3 or 4. Out of bounds at the 44. Well, the big question for Stanford starting here was the offensive line. They knew they had 2 stars coming back in Jonathan Martin and David DeCastro, but the rest of them were all question marks. They're 3 first-time starters, first-year starters alongside that great tandem. Martin, one of the most highly touted offensive linemen in the country, the big left tackle. Number 55. Big Mel Kiper hasn't rated the 7th best player on his entire big board at any position. Would have him as a top 10 draft pick in the next draft. And our colleague Todd McShay, the colleagues at Scouts Inc. have him rated as the second best offensive lineman in the country. And David DeCastro, the right guard, rated fourth among offensive linemen by Todd McShay.
And if you watch them, the first thing you see is they enjoy the physical part of it. That's the first thing. They call him Moose Martin, number 55 there, the left tackle. Call him Moose Martin. He loves to get his nose dirty. He loves it. And as the game goes on, he gets better and better. Real physical player.
This will stop the play on third down.
Delay of game on the offense. Number 12, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Andrew Luck, I guess that's part of what makes him great too. Mad at himself for allowing that play clock to run down. Yeah, they call Martin Moose because he was 180 pounds playing flag football in the 5th grade. That's when he got the nickname. And he's still a large man. Lombardi Award candidate, certainly, and an Outland Trophy candidate. Out of Los Angeles. Luck on 3rd and 8. Going to run for it. He's going to get it. And then out of bounds at the 42-yard line of Washington. Midway through the third quarter. 1st and 10 Cardinal.
We talked about decision making, Sean. And he sees the coverage. He sees that it's man-to-man. He knows that the defender's backs are to him. Once you get to the green and the outside, just get the first.
Another play of double digits. That's a 15-yard run by Luck. Jeremy Stewart for 4 more.
You know, we talk about Andrew Luck so much, and I really, when I watch him, when I look at him, I do think back to Jim Plunkett. And I got to tell you, Plunkett went up to New England. You and I have talked about this before, and you know, he got beat up, and we said, you know, he came back and he still won 2 Super Bowls, and he was that physically gifted, but he really was beat up. And had he been drafted by the Oakland Raiders right out of school, we'd be saying that Andrew Luck could be the next Jim Plunkett, that Joe Montana could have been the next Jim Plunkett. Because Plunkett was a fabulously talented player.
So you're saying he would have been regarded as one of the best of all time?
Absolutely. And even
been beaten up in New England?
Trust me, as a player, he was one of the toughest guys I've ever been around. And he still came back to win 2 Super Bowls after the fact. And Jim was, 33, 34 years old when he made his second comeback. I mean, his comeback, rather, with the Raiders.
Stewart got them within a yard of the first down. Now the real power formation, and Stewart, the short yardage specialist, gets into the 30. And a first down. And Jim Plunkett.
Oh, there's Plunk.
Back in the day. He used to team up on those long bombs with Randy Vitaha.
Randy Vitaha, yep.
Became his teammate in New England as well.
Jim could do everything, much like Luck right now. And then, of course, we're not even talking about John Elway. And Elway, to me, if you're going to pick one quarterback to start a team, it was John Elway.
Good play action fake by Luck. Throws it off for Zach Ertz. Nice move, and he's banged out of bounds, but has a first down. Court Dennison gets credit for the tackle, a 14-yard gain, and they're in the red zone again. Well, this guy wasn't too bad either.
No, we had some discussions down at NFL Films many times, and one of the points of discussion was if you were going to start a team, who would be the first guy you'd take? And every time that question is posed, I say John Elway.
Out of every player in the history of the league.
Yes, I would take John Elway because he could do everything. You played Denver. It was the Denver Elways. He did everything. It was amazing.
Anthony Wilkerson to the 12-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Well, when you ask people who've been close to Luck, his head coach, the assistant coaches, his teammates, the opponent, Steve Sarkisian, who's been around a lot of great quarterbacks when he was at USC, himself a terrific quarterback. what they like most about Andrew Luck. You get a wide variety of answers because he's so good at everything that different people appreciate some of those great talents more than others. Here's Owusu down to the 12-yard line, tackled by Desmond Trufant. I was so impressed talking to him yesterday too, because on top of the rest of it, he is as down to earth as can be, extremely humble, a great teammate. In every way like that, he reminds me of Peyton Manning. I think he is. He's almost a carbon copy of Peyton Manning.
I had an opportunity to speak with somebody when we were watching tape this afternoon. They were talking about Andrew Luck and what kind of student he is. And he started talking about his architectural background, that's his major.
Architectural design. He's a 3.5 GPA.
And one of the professors in here doing a joint project, and the professor says that Andrew Luck, it's all him. He said this guy is really good
in the classroom too.
Yes, and with his architectural work, he's just said he's just got an eye for it.
Well, we threw that one kind of low. I think they should bench him.
I'm with you. What a stiff.
So they'll kick a field goal, which they'll need to make to remain perfect in the red zone this year. David Shaw has such great appreciation for Luck, and he knows what it's like to be a student athlete here at Stanford. Jordan Williamson's field goal good from 30 yards. 48-14 Stanford late in the third quarter. Stanford with a chance to make history tonight. Defeated their last 9 opponents by 25 or more points. First team to do that at this level of college football since Boise State in 2002. But if they win by 25 or more tonight, they would be the first team ever to win 10 straight games by 25 points or more. That's in the whole era, which dates back to 1936. To put that in perspective, since 1936, there have been 370 winning streaks in college football of 10 wins or more, but nobody's ever won 10 of them by 25 points or more. Kevin Smith brings back the kickoff for Washington out near the 30. Tomorrow night on ESPN, join Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, and Craig James for BCS Countdown. They'll unveil the new BCS poll, analyze the contenders and the pretenders. BCS Countdown presented by Vizio. Tomorrow night, 8:15 Eastern on ESPN, continuing on ESPNU at 9 Eastern. Steve Price after the fake. And an incomplete pass. Here's a look at this week's BCS standings, the first of the season, which came out last Sunday. LSU and Alabama easy winners, as was Oklahoma State. That's a terrific win on the road. Wisconsin trailing. Clemson rolled up 59. We mentioned Stanford wasn't getting much love.
They'll get more now.
But they hadn't played anybody. This is their first ranked opponent. So you'd have to think at least the computers will love them a little more.
I think, Sean, this defense is a little bit better than you think. But when you talk about great defenses right now, you got to look at LSU and Alabama at this top. And then I still think Oklahoma should be ranked number 1. I think they started there. It's tougher to stay in that position.
Price got buried as he threw it. The BCS standings were brought to you by Vizio. Lake Looters applied the pressure. Max Bergen coming there as well. Washington had high hopes. It was going to be a great night. It's not going to be. They are still clearly a program on the rise, one that needs to address its issues on defense in particular. 3rd down and 10. The officials have stopped the play.
Timer, set the game clock to 3:34, please.
Well, that'll help the comeback.
Oh yeah. You know, speaking of the comeback, they're obviously it's 48-14. So you're past the embarrassment stage. So Sean, offensively, they need to go hurry up and try to do something. At least give themselves just give themselves a chance. If they can do anything, take advantage of the quick pace and try to use it to their advantage.
Well, pressure even with a 3-man rush, and finally Price had to throw it away.
And there's no place to throw the football there. That's just good coverage. You say 3, that means there's 8 behind it. Usually they go 5 under and 3 deep, and so you're taking all the short stuff away and forcing it down the field. He couldn't find anything.
Well, we wondered about the Stanford defense, the great stats we mentioned at the top of the telecast, leading in 7 different categories in the Pac-12 in team defense, among the national leaders in many. But again, you wondered, was it a product of the soft schedule? Well, they played a very good offense tonight, and they've held a Washington team averaging 37 points per game to 14.
Well, what stood out immediately was they got pressure with just 4 people. And they kept on coming in. Sean, they were aggressive with it too. I mean, they called an aggressive game. They brought blitzes with their corners. They brought blitzes with their linebackers, safeties. They weren't afraid to do it. They trust their coverage down the field. It's just an impressive show here tonight. Now, part of it is Washington defensively was not that good, so they couldn't stop them. But I expected more out of Washington's offensive line against the Stanford front.
After a 37-yard punt by Will Mahan, a fair catch by Drew Terrell. 1st and 10, Stanford again. Blitz comes, no problem for Luck. He wasn't on the same page with his roommate Griff Whalen. And it's an incomplete pass.
Now here's a couple things that when you watch them and you talk about Andrew Luck, and people are sitting at home, they're like, enough already with this Luck stuff. But their receivers do not do a great job of getting separation. And so when that happens, it's incumbent upon the quarterback to throw into really tight windows. And they're fortunate that they have a guy who can do that.
Yeah, it looks like goal line and short yardage offense almost all the way up the field. Very tightly bunched offense. As you say, wide receivers really not a big part of it, which in this day and age is unusual.
Give 12 the trophy.
Yes. I mean, he's the best player in the country.
You know, you don't really appreciate it until you study him. And he's not going to have as big a numbers as others because they've been blowing teams out. But I'll tell you, when you study him and you see all the things he does, I mean, it's innate. It's natural for him.
He's thrown for just 125 yards, which is his season low. He was pressured that time. Are they going to have to punt? My goodness, they will. First 3 and out tonight, first punt of the night. Here's Joe Tessitore's Heismanology poll. He polls all of us at ESPN who have a Heisman Trophy vote. And Andrew Luck leads the poll. Russell Wilson, Trent Richardson, Robert Griffin III, and Kellen Moore. Of course, Luck was the Heisman Trophy runner-up last year to Cam Newton. Well, they have a penalty on the punt, and of course they will.
Full start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
They never do this, so
Exactly.
They might have a little trouble in the execution of the punt.
You know, Sean, the game that's going to be a humdinger is Stanford, Oregon. And that's when Andrew Luck is going to have to be all of Andrew Luck. They're going to need all the points they can get because not only do you have to go against an offense that can score a lot of points, they do it fast, so you have to defend pace. And Andrew Luck is going to have to put a lot of points up on the board in that one.
Yeah, the first 6 games were soft on their schedule. The iron is the rest of the way. At USC, up to Oregon State, having a disappointing year, but then Oregon, Cal, and Notre Dame, all of them here. And that Oregon game will be one of the biggest of the year in all of college football. In all likelihood, the game of the year in the Pac-12, divided into 2 divisions now, North and South. And there will be a championship game on December 2nd.
USC is pretty much beating up Notre Dame right now, 31-17 or something like that.
They're legit.
Yeah. And Matt Barkley's a heck of a player.
There's David Green again.
Robert Woods also the receiver.
There's the 16th punt of the year. Casey Williams brings it back for Washington. to the 44. 40-yard punt, 7-yard return. They said Green only punted about 12 times in high school. He was on a powerful high school team in Mission Viejo, California. He has the cushiest job ever, high school and college. Said I probably punted about 12 times in high school. It was enough to be a very highly rated national punting prospect. Now a fifth-year senior here at Stanford. Keith Price out for Aguilar. He's pulled down inbounds by Barry Browning. Gain of 3. Time for our Pac-12 conference update, brought to you by Dr. Pepper 10. Stanford and Oregon remain undefeated in the North. Washington about to take its first conference loss. They'll go to 5-2, barring a miracle here. The other loss at Nebraska.
Sark's not going to like seeing us. Every time we see him, he got beat.
And they give up a ton of points. This is the third game we've done the last 2 seasons. The last 2 regular season games against Nebraska.
On the offense, number 73, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
They gave up more than 50 in each of those games, and they might well give up more than 50 again tonight. Drew Schaefer flagged for the penalty. Considering where they were before he got there and how quickly Washington has advanced to where it is right now, disappointing night tonight, but the big picture is pretty good. And as you say, with a lot of young players, the promise of better things to come. Aguilar the catch and a first down to the Stanford 43, because they have the most important thing that you need, a terrific quarterback.
Yeah, they do. And they're going to have to work. This offensive line is going to have to play better. And you heard Steve Sarkisian, the head coach of Washington, tell Heather Cox at halftime, you know, they had a couple of blown assignments in protections. And particularly early in games, you've got to be solid. You've got to be solid. You have to let things kind of unfold. And it gives your offensive line confidence as they go.
Bishop Sankey, true freshman, running back, and he gets pulled down. Joe Hemscott, backup linebacker, redshirt freshman out of Lakewood, Colorado, made the play. These Stanford players come from all over the country.
Yeah, it used to be called a double nickels blitz. They're attacking the inside on those A gaps. That's all it really is. Hemscott comes clean. You have to maintain the integrity of the inside all the time. I mean, you have to take care of that first. Just attacked all night long. I think that's that Jason Tarver. They're one of their defensive coordinators. He is an aggressive guy.
Timeout.
Enjoyed our conversation
Stanford.
With him yesterday.
Timeout number 1. 30 seconds timeout.
Jason Tarver, co-defensive coordinator with Derek Mason. Among the things he said yesterday, use your powers for good, yes. Not evil.
Yes. He was talking about his players and what they can do and what they can't do. And then he says, hey. Use your powers for good.
How many times yesterday did you use the word violence? We want them to play violently instead of apply your rules with violence. Do what you're supposed to do, but do it with violence.
Yeah, if we get a good shot of his face, he's got the good intensity in the eyes, got the great energy. And
fascinating guy.
He's a lot of fun. Very bright guy.
Incredibly bright. Graduated from Santa Clara just up the road with a degree in chemistry in 1997. Then went to UCLA to be a graduate assistant football coach and got a master's in biochemistry and molecular biology. Price throws, caught. He dissected Tarver's defense there. Jermaine Kearse held on to the ball, went to the 20-yard line. 29-yard gain for Washington in the final seconds of the third quarter. They're down by 34 points.
You know, a lot of defensive coordinators have molecular biology as they're in their diploma.
He thought he wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. He played football at Santa Clara. They dropped the program, and he had ripped up his knee so badly he really couldn't play anymore. Went to West Valley College with his bad knee and played junior college football. He's become an excellent football coach. End of the third quarter. Welcome back to Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Andrew Luck and Stanford leading Washington 48-14 as we continue Dr. Pepper's road to the championships. #1 goal for Andrew Luck in coming back this year, win the Pac-12 championship. Price throws back to James Johnson. He has a first down inside the 10-yard line. Taken out of bounds by Terrence Brown. 1st and goal, Washington in the opening seconds of the 4th quarter, with Stanford leading by 34. 12-yard gain. Two Washington touchdowns on 2 long runs by Chris Polk. Opponent scored from the red zone. They throw it out to Jermaine Kearse. Lost the football out of bounds. He did well to fend off some tacklers and get near the 5-yard line. Jordan Richards, Michael Thomas there. Going to mark it back near the 7. 2nd down and goal.
There's Chester McLaughlin, the old Oakland Raider, defensive tackle. Coaching here the defensive line, and you can see his influence with this defensive line. They roll through a lot of guys, Sean, but he's brought a certain intensity to this group that's really helped them, and they're going to need it right now.
They have a lot of depth on defense. That's helped them with the injuries to Skov, and tonight to Delano Howell, the safety. Polk inside the 5, down to the 2-yard line, banged down again by the true freshman Jordan Richards. Coaches say all he needs is experience. They think he's going to be a star. Out of Folsom, California. Third and goal for the Huskies.
Spreading them out. See if they don't come with a blitz. That's what they did last time they were down here. And they
Bunch to the left. They do blitz. Price had to throw it, and Kearse can't make the catch. I tell you, for a guy whose reputation being one of the best receivers in the West, he misses a lot of opportunities to make plays.
Did not have a good night here tonight.
Illegal contact to the helmet on the defense. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Price was under pressure, and he stood right in there. That was a perfect throw. Should have been caught. Should have been a touchdown. And again, they come with pressure, unblocked off the edge. I like the way they're calling this game defensively. Stanford with Derek Mason. He makes all the calls. He and Tarver on the same page.
1st and goal after the penalty on Chase Thomas. Polk taken down at the line of scrimmage. For that first replay that we saw, which really focused on the drop by Kearse, didn't look like Thomas hit him in the head. What's that?
That's called the poor call. Chase Thomas played a heck of a game here tonight.
Junior from Marietta, Georgia.
Marietta, Georgia.
And there's another streak on the line. 12 straight opponents held under 20. They're trying to extend that streak. And they will not if Stanford kicks the extra point. Washington kicks the extra point. Evan Hudson, his first career catch, and it goes for a touchdown. Redshirt freshman tight end from Bothell, Washington, just outside Seattle.
Well, he had his choice on this one. Hudson's in the back of the end zone. He's got all 3 levels covered. Could have had Safarian Jenkins right in front of him, and also Kevin Smith.
The extra point good. It's 48-21 after a 56-yard drive. Well, the tree's happy.
It's deciduous.
Is that happy?
Yeah, it's a broadleaf tree, not a conifer.
Are deciduous trees typically happy?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You can tell by their bark.
Eric Folks kickoff down to Ty Montgomery. And Montgomery gets it out to the 34. Well, Jimmy Johnson wrecked last week in Charlotte. He fell down to 8th in the chase. The 5-time defending NASCAR Sprint Cup champion in trouble now. Just 5 races to go. Can he bounce back? He needs a good performance tomorrow at Talladega, with coverage starting on ESPN at 1 o'clock with NASCAR Countdown presented by Napa. After the terrible tragedy with the IndyCar racing and the death of Dan Weldon and an awful crash in Las Vegas, let's say a prayer that all those gentlemen make it around the track safely tomorrow. Anthony Wilkerson gets 10 and a first down on the first play of this drive. Here's Kevin Connors.
Sean, we may just have an upset brewing in Norman. Seth Dagy's 1-yard touchdown run has given Texas Tech a 14-7 lead on number 3 Oklahoma, still early in the second quarter. And over on ESPN, 31-17. Michigan State leading Wisconsin in East Lansing. Sean?
Wow.
Good defense by Michigan State. We said last week, Sean, if you can throw, you had a chance to beat Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin, another team that really hadn't played anybody yet. No offense to Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska's a very good team. That was a home game. And their schedule otherwise pretty favorable. Griff Whalen the catch to the 38-yard line. Banged down by Sean Parker.
There's Sean up by 27. I'm surprised to see Andrew Luck in there. And having said that, that ball had some zip on it. And he can throw, like, remember I mentioned earlier about changing the velocity on his throws? That's one right there. When it had to be on the line, it came out on the line.
Well, you said to the Stanford coaches yesterday, the one thing you didn't really see on the tape you would watch at that point was the real zip on the downfield throws. And David Shaw said, well, he saves it for when he needs it. When he needs it, he gets it there like a frozen rope. Anthony Wilkerson down to the 34-yard line.
That's why I think that Oregon game, you're going to see all of what Andrew Luck has to bring to the table. Because they're going to need points. They're going to need to trust their quarterback in that one, because Oregon's going to score in this group.
Over 500 yards of offense now for Stanford. 507, 364 of it on the ground. Anthony Wilkerson struggles for a first down. There's a flag down behind the line of scrimmage. Will Schamberger on the tackle.
Holding on the offense. Number 10. 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
Jeff Minkin, the fullback, called for the hold. Well, Keith Price, we saw in Nebraska, even when they were trailing by a comfortable margin, he wasn't going to stop smiling.
No, I just think that's his demeanor. I think he's one of those real positive guys. And I think he's one of those guys that when you have him in the huddle or when you're around him, he brings energy to it. And that smile's a big part of it.
One of the few things left to answer tonight is, will Stanford win for the 10th game in a row by 25 or more? Lead by 27 now. That streak is only alive, by the way, Matt, because last week, after Washington State scored with 14 seconds to go, to get within fewer than 25 points, there's Whalen again to the 32-yard line. Good effort by Whalen. After that touchdown with 14 seconds to go up in Pullman, looked like the 25 points or more winning streak was over, but then Ty Montgomery, what turned out to be the last play of the game, brought it back 96 yards for a touchdown to keep that streak alive. Fifth longest kickoff return in school history. They wound up winning by 30, 44-14. They did not kick the extra point after time had expired. 3rd down and 4 for Luck.
There's another little bit of zip on the ball right there when he had to.
To Owusu. There are a lot of fans, a lot of NFL teams who want their team to stink for luck, to use a word. Stink for luck hasn't quite been what a lot of fans have been saying around the country, but there are a lot of these campaigns. Our team should go in the tank.
Yeah.
Andrew, to his credit, thinks that's a stupid idea. But the more you watch this guy play, if you're an NFL fan, you want this guy to be your quarterback going forward.
This guy, there aren't very many of them. This guy's legit. You're gonna be able to run your entire offense early and often. He's got it all.
Going deeper down the depth chart around him. Here's Wilkerson inside the 10. Touchdown.
You know, Sean, if we had to pick an MVP of this game, though, Andrew Luck, you know, he played a nice game. The running backs have played a nice game, but it's this offensive line. They have dominated all the way from the first quarter all the way through. And they have not relented.
Even with some backups in the game, you saw a big 76. Kevin Danzer pulling. They'll lead the way for Wilkerson. Second rushing touchdown of the year for the sophomore. 55 points now for Stanford, 2 under their season high of 57 in their opener against San Jose State.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And Fidelity Investments. Turn here.
At halftime, the Directors' Cup presented to Stanford for the 17th year in a row. It's emblematic of the top intercollegiate program in the country. Big history in so many sports here. Cardinal teams have won 101 team championships, including 61 men's championships, and NCAA Best 40 women's titles across a wide variety of sports. Jordan Williamson kicks off. Kevin Smith will bring it back. Up the numbers. He lost the football. Stanford appeared to have it at the bottom of that pile. Now there's a late flag thrown. And it is Stanford ball. Need to check out the flag.
Ball security. Looks like he just got a hit, got his helmet right on the lower part of that ball.
Second play, personal foul on the kicking team. Number 42, 15-yard penalty. Down will be 1.
Corey Gatewood, backup wide receiver, recovered the fumble. He said against the kicking team, but they started to step it off against Washington, which was the receiving team, and it is against Washington. They're going to move the ball down to the 20. Meanwhile, the night is over for Andrew Luck. He threw for 169 yards tonight. And a night when they dominated on the ground game. So there's Brett Nottingham, redshirt freshman, seeing action now for the 5th time in Stanford's 7 games this season. They've been comfortably ahead so often.
Well, they'll try to add this last 20 yards onto their rushing total. Try to go over 400 for the night.
4 out of 6 passing this year. Probably a steady stream of handoffs. Anthony Wilkerson down to the 16-yard line. Here's Kevin Connors.
Sean, over on ESPN, the Badgers will not go away, down 31-17. And East Lansing Heisman candidate Russell Wilson called his own number, 22 yards. It is a 31-24 game. And looky here, Texas Tech, a 21-7 lead on number 3 Oklahoma, Sean.
Long way to go in that one.
Yeah. You know, Landry Jones will have something to say about it, and Ryan Broyles before the night's over.
One of the most explosive offensive teams in the country, Oklahoma. Wilkerson. Wouldn't you like to see this Stanford team play Alabama or LSU? I mean, a lot of debate about which one of those 2 teams out of the SEC has the better defense. They're both tremendous defensive teams. But to see Andrew Luck and this power running game line up against those caliber defenses would be interesting.
I'll tell you where it would really show up, Sean, and it would be in the passing game. Andrew Luck would have to be, he'd have to be everything he's supposed to be, because those defenses have corners who can just shut you down. And this Stanford offense does not have the speed to match those teams.
Nottingham rolls out and fires toward the end zone. Washington wants an interception. It's going to be ruled an incomplete pass. Anthony Goburn came up with it. It was out of bounds. 4th down and 4.
The official was right there. See the official right there. He has a great view of the whole thing.
Looked like the ball might hit the ground too. It's like Stanford's going to go for it on 4th down and 4. Goburn's hollering toward the sideline. He might want a challenge here. Washington's called a timeout. Midway through the 4th quarter, we'll step aside with Stanford leading 55-21. This became a coach's challenge. Steve Sarkisian, with the encouragement of Anthony Goburn, who thought he had intercepted the pass in the end zone, challenged the ruling. Here's Jay Strickers. Well, he wants a little more help from the replay booth first.
Well, from our vantage point in our replay, it looked like he never had control of the ball and hit the ground.
Jim Northcott is the replay official. He's surprised, and it does look here like he doesn't really have possession, and the ball hits the ground and bounces up and wobbles around a little bit. He's surprised that Stanford's throwing the ball in the end zone with 55 points.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. The pass is incomplete. Washington is charged the first time out.
Meanwhile, David Shaw's team tonight, primarily leaning on the running game, still has had 21 plays from scrimmage of 10 yards or more out of 59 plays. So on 36% of their plays from scrimmage, they've gained at least 10 yards.
Well, he's got it going here. Of course, he's the son of Willie Shaw, the longtime National Football League coach. Around for a long time. An excellent job of coaching.
Nick coached 33 years. Many NFL teams. Had 2 stints here at Stanford. Was very nearly the head coach here at Stanford. Willie Shaw. Jordan Williamson kicks a 32-yard field goal to make it 58-21. But Willie Shaw thought he had the job, and then Bill Walsh said, "I'd like to come back to Stanford." That was a good choice. Stay tuned after our game tonight for your late local news on most of these ABC stations. On ESPN, you catch Sports Center. There's certainly reason to fear the tree if you're a Stanford opponent. Not that tree necessarily, but the Cardinal football program. 58 points on the board tonight against number 25 Washington. And here's Jordan Williamson after his field goal to kick off. Squibs it down the field. John Timu, the linebacker, brought it back. Take a look at the Pacific Life game summary. Brought to you by Pacific Life. Andrew Luck, well below his average per game, just 169 yards. Season lows in completions, attempts, and yards. But threw 2 touchdown passes. It was a night for the ground game. Stephon Taylor and Tyler Gaffney in particular. Now Nick Montana has come in as the quarterback for Washington. Jesse Calliard, the ball carrier, to the 50. And on the night we spent so much time talking about great quarterbacks, he's the son of Joe Montana. In the conversation, when you try to pick the best of all time, you said you'd take John Elway, but there are many who would take Joe Montana.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Joe, I played with Joe, played against Joe. He did some things so effortlessly. He had probably the best vision of the field and anticipation maybe ever.
Nick's a redshirt freshman. Hands it off to Callier, who's dropped for a loss. Back at the 47, here's Kevin.
Now, Sean, your AT&T All-America Player of the Week is Clemson QB Taj Boyd, 367 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. He also ran for a score in the Tigers' 59-31 win over North Carolina. Clemson is 8-0 for the first time since 2000. Text VOTE to 55862 from your mobile phone to vote and for a chance at a trip to the national championship. Sean?
Well, a lot of people keep waiting for the shoe to drop with Clemson, but it isn't happening. I mean, a magical year. They come after Montana. Showing the poise of his dad. He's on target to Cason Williams for a first down to the Stanford 42-yard line. What if every storybook character you ever knew or you thought you knew was real from the writers of Lost, a series unlike anything you've ever seen on television, the ultimate battle between good and evil. ABC's Once Upon a Time premiering tomorrow night at 8/7 Central on ABC. I'm sure the tree will be tuned in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Montana throws, intercepted. At least the Cardinal believe it's a pick. The officials conferring it is an interception by Barry Browning. First of the season for Browning, his second career interception. The other one was last year at Oregon State.
Yeah, just beat him to the spot.
It was intended for Cason Williams. And a good break on the ball by Browning, who was a starter at the beginning of the year. Lost that job to Terrence Brown, but Browning still plays a lot. Well, they had only one interception all year. They got an interception return for a touchdown. And now another pick. Thomas returned one for a score. Second interception tonight. Stanford. Nottingham gave it off to Wilkerson. Ahead for 3. Here's Heather Cox.
Well, Sean, leave it to Stanford to come up with a cutting-edge medical solution. A Stanford grad, Dr. Craig Heller, invented this to prevent cramping. And what they do is it has cold air, cold water that goes inside. Now, when a player cramps, they actually stick their hand inside. That air pressure creates coolness, and it actually cools the palms and the arteries inside the palms to help prevent cramping throughout the entire body. Now, originally, it was so big they had to carry it on a dolly, but now it's portable, very useful. I've seen about 5 different Stanford players using it tonight. The only school in the country to have this technology.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. When you're cramping with your leg, but if you stick your hand in there, it helps cramping. Like I would think you'd have to stick your leg in there.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
You know, a lot of smart people around here.
Just hate that.
Well, yesterday, didn't you feel a little inferior when we were at the Stanford offices? You know, talking to the players, the coaches, and intellectually. I mean, not you because you're very smart, but I felt a little inadequate.
That's why I went down and no, forget. I won't even say it.
What's that?
I'll just get myself into trouble.
Okay, better yet. Why get that done with 4.5 minutes to go? We're almost to the finish line. Wilkerson again on 3rd down and 3 has the first down. Well, we mentioned the academic bent. A lot of people refer to the school as the Harvard of the West. This is this afternoon, about an hour and a half to kickoff. I've never seen this before. So many of the students were in the stadium with their computers. And
did you see the name of that book?
No.
It looked like Infinite Reality.
I don't
even know what that means.
Nor do I. And yesterday we talked to Mike Thomas. So I'm sorry I'm a little late. I was coming from class. What class was that? Greek art. Flags stop the play.
False start on the offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
You know, it's fun to be around a group of young people that are great thinkers like that. My oldest son, Matthew, he went to Princeton, and he'd bring his guys home, and you'd start sitting around
got
talking
that from
like
Patricia.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me on that one. But it's just, you know, they just always have just a kind of a different way to look at things. This group is no different.
Lee Ward's in at fullback. He's listed as 4th on their depth chart, so they have gone deep down the bench. Wilkerson back to the line just across it. Tuesday night, don't miss an all-new episode of ABC's Last Man Standing, starring Tim Allen. See why it's Tuesday's #1 new comedy. It's man-tastic. It's man-fabulous. I'm just reading it, folks. It's Last Man Standing, Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ABC.
There's Spock behind him.
Now, these are some of the brainiacs, the academic leaders of America to whom we're referring.
Yes, that would be them.
Here we are coming up on Halloween. Wilkerson grinds ahead to the 44, flag thrown, 2:40 to go.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 39. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And here's Kevin Connors.
Sean, it is a heavyweight slugfest over on ESPN, and they are even again on the scorecards. Russell Wilson's 2-yard TD pass to Monty Ball tied things at 31. Wilson was 4 for 4 for 72 yards on the drive. 31-31 in the fourth. Sean?
Wow, what a great game. Which would make me wonder, Matt, exactly how many people are listening to this and watching this right now. We hope there are millions.
Hi, Mom.
But it does have you one, yes. If you'd like to send any personal messages directly to your relatives, now would be the right time. Wilkerson down to the 38-yard line. So we approach 2 minutes to go. Well, we mentioned the computers perhaps not sold on Stanford, even with a 6-0 record because of the weak schedule. This is a good opponent they play tonight. 409 yards rushing now. What are your thoughts about Stanford as a national championship contender?
Well, I think they would have problems with the great defenses, but
really, you don't think they could line up and?
Yeah, I think I don't think they're going to run for 400 yards against some of those, LSU and Alabama and that. And that's where I'd really like to see, though, them tested with Andrew Luck to see exactly what now he's going to break the all-time rushing record in terms of yards for Stanford.
Wilkerson all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. 38 yards. Gives them 446 rushing yards for the night. That is the single game Stanford record.
And that's brought to you courtesy of Wilkerson's feet, but the strong backs of that offensive line, whether it's the first group or the third or second group.
Previous record was 439 yards in a game at Oregon State in 1981. A record-setting night. Extra point good by Williamson. So they've had 2 runners over 100 yards tonight, with Taylor 138, Gaffney 117, and now Wilkerson with 93 yards rushing. After that scamper, 615 yards of total offense for Stanford tonight.
Sean, we talked about the running game. We talked about the offensive line. And they started off with their hands in the dirt and just grunting out some big yards. And they finished it the exact same way. They did it early with Stephen Taylor. They did it with Wilkerson. They did it with Stewart, Gaffney. Anybody who could run benefited from this offensive line here tonight.
Not a record night of total offense. We mentioned they have 615 tonight. The record is 693 for Stanford against Arizona State. That was also in 1981. So they had the 1 streak come to an end tonight. They had held 12 straight opponents under 20 points. The longest such streak since 1939 to 1941, when they held 14 opponents in a row under 20. They've given up 21. That was a little bit of help from the officials on that, however, on the bad roughing the passer call. Williamson, the squib kick. But they are going to be the first team in the poll era since 1936 to win 10 straight games by 25 points or more. Tomorrow night, the morning, whatever you want. tell us when you'd like it. But for most of you, throw it on at 10 a.m. Eastern for Sunday NFL Countdown. Bruner, TJ, Coach Ditka, Chris Carter, Keyshawn Johnson, Bill Parcells. 3 hours of insights and analysis to get you ready for all of tomorrow's NFL action. Presented by IBM, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Bishop Sankey, talented true freshman, ahead for a yard. He's from Spokane, Washington.
There's R2. You know, Sean, we talked about that offensive line and how well they played, but not to be overlooked. Defensively, I thought that Stanford was aggressive from the start, and they played physical up front with their defensive front as well. I thought both of these fronts played extremely well tonight.
Sankey again, playing a running room, and he's into Stanford territory for the 41-yard line. Be sure to stay tuned after the game tonight for the Ford wrap-up with Robert Flores. And remember, friends, you can log on to Ford.com/big-score for your chance to win a 2012 F-150.
Old Pep Hamilton, the offensive coordinator for Stanford, just stopped in the booth with a big old smile on his face.
He should be happy.
He should.
It's also a very well-coached team. The officials apparently want to be more involved here late in the game. Flag thrown. The Sankey carried.
Chop block. Number 79 on the offense. 15-yard penalty, spot of the foul. Still first down.
Well, you have to call that because that's a dangerous play. Colin Porter, the right guard, the starter, still in there. So Washington with the loss will fall to 5-2 overall.
Young group. Steve Sarkisian will take them back. They'll learn from this, and they'll continue to get better. And there's a big reason why right there. Keith Price, you give him a little bit of time, that's a pretty good player. He'll continue to get better as well.
Bishop Sankey back to the 41-yard line. That'll be the final play of the game. Clock stopped at 1 second for a moment. Now it expires.
Sean, there was over 1,000 yards of offense here tonight.
615 for Stanford, so that's the record first team ever since polling started in college football in 1936 to win 10 straight games by 25 points or more. Overall, it's their 15th straight win, and they've been winning by an average during that 15-game winning streak of more than 30 points per game. They go to 7-0, and here's Heather Cox with the winning coach.
Sean, thanks so much, Coach. Your 10th consecutive win by 25 or more. How has this team been able to be so relentless and so consistent?
It's our mentality. You know, we got a lot of tough guys, and people keep talking about winning streaks and all that stuff. It doesn't get to our guys. It doesn't get to our guys because we have enough seniors that have lost games. They've been through the hardships. And now I told them we're trying to reap the benefits of our labor, but reaping the benefits is not easy. Reaping the benefits is going out and taking what you want.
Tonight was your first ranked opponent. You made it look easy. What did you learn about your team tonight that you didn't already know?
That we have a killer instinct. You know, we talked about playing, everybody talks about playing better competition, all that stuff. It's not about who we play, it's about how we play, and our guys believe that.
Coach, thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
1,028 yards of total offense combined between these two teams. Final score, Stanford 65, Washington 21. Now for Matt Millen, Heather Cox, and our terrific ABC crew, led ably by our producer, Bo Garrett, and our director, Mike Roy. Sean McDonough saying so long from Stanford, California. Let's send you to Robert Flores in the Ford wrap-up.